podcast for those who suffer, which is everyone.
It's a space where we can speak honestly about what it feels like to be in desolate places without losing hope.
Welcome to In the Thicket. Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
Can't buy me love. What's
Yeah.
Wait, are we allowed
what's
to do
the
that?
immediate? Sure.
I
Yeah.
don't
What's
know.
your
Okay.
what's your like? Okay, love songs. What's the first thing?
Oh my gosh.
I think it's
You
just
know what
love, love, love. You know,
Good one.
that's
Yeah.
like
yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
love.
Okay.
So I'm a music therapist. I'm a neurologic music therapist, I should say. And one of the songs that when we were working with older adults was used a lot in my master's was Can't Help Falling in Love with You, Elvis Presley.
Oh,
You know?
good
Oh,
one.
yes.
And often it will just pop into my head just randomly. It's kind of like in the you know in the movie Inside Out, the Pixar movie about the
Yeah.
emotions. And
Yes.
there's a scene where or not a scene, but just like randomly in the movie, this like I think a dental commercial or something like plays in the guy's mind. So for me, that's Can't Help Falling in Love by Elvis Presley. And it plays sometimes
Right.
at really strange moments, you know, but yeah,
Funny.
that's
True.
When I
Yeah.
think of that song, I just like it sort of like makes you want to like waltz or something. Like immediately, like it sort of kind of is like it gets you in slow dance mode. Like right
yeah,
away,
totally.
You know?
Totally.
Yeah,
Right
that's
away.
true. I feel like there's some kind of commercial or something that I've seen that uses that song because every time I hear that song, I can't help, then immediately it makes me want to buy something. Like I don't know what, like I don't even know what that impulse is directed
Was that your Elvis
towards.
impression? Also, I just want to say
Yes.
You sound like
Help.
a really old British woman
I
singing.
sound like stroke victim Elvis. That's what I
Oh,
sound a
no.
little bit like.
Oh boy.
Oh man.
Oh,
But okay, so
Good song,
I mean, it's just to introduce us to today's topic, in case you hadn't guessed by the title of this episode or the way we are singing love songs, we are talking about Valentine's Day, the good, the bad, and the lonely. Yes. So super fun topic. So we thought that, instead of just saying like, oh, hey, how are you this week? We would start with like Valentine's Day. What does it mean to you? What's your like, what's your love of story with Valentine's Day?
That's such a good question.
It is. You know what? I feel like when I was kid, so this is Valentine's Day when I was growing up, okay? So February 14th, we'd wake up in the morning and we'd come out, into the kitchen or whatever. And my dad, and my mom too, but it was like, I don't know, often it was just like from my dad, would have like, there would be a Valentine's Day card from both my parents, and then there would be like flowers from my dad. That's what it was. Or sometimes chocolate. There would be like some kind of little gift of our parents just telling us how much they loved us and their daughters how beautiful we are and all these things, and my brother, I'm sure they told him nice things too. Probably not how beautiful he is, although he's a good looking guy. So anyways, yeah, so it was always this like really positive thing. I always was excited for Valentine's Day and thought it was beautiful. And my dad would always get my mom flowers. And so it just always was just like, oh yeah, this is a beautiful day. Like this is a day when we tell each other how much we love each other, even though we do that already, but we are intentional about it.
Nice.
So yeah, and it wasn't till later in my life that I realized it's a little more complex than that.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like romance or whatever. Like, was
Yeah,
it just like
exactly.
you didn't clue into the romance part of it? Right.
Or just like, I think I did. I knew like, oh yeah,
okay.
this is like, and then when I grow up someday and I have a boyfriend or a husband,
Right.
we'll
That's
go and we'll
right.
have dinner and it'll be magical and perfect.
That's
That was
right.
like my
Yes.
assumption.
Right.
you know?
Yeah,
Right.
of course. Yeah.
You didn't imagine the Valentine's days where that may not have necessarily been
Right.
the case.
Obviously
right.
not.
Yeah,
That's
no,
not
when you're a
Valentine's Day,
kid,
yeah.
you're like, that's not how life works. It's
No.
it ends
It
up
is
with
exactly
a tiara
like
and a glass slipper. That's what happens. Yeah. Did you guys ever do the thing when you were in elementary school? Like, did your classes do the thing with the Valentine's Day cards? And you had, like, when I was young, everybody would get a bag that you decorated with your name and whatever other red hearts or whatever, stickers or things like that. And you'd hang it on your desk. And then everybody in the class would go around and put Valentines or like candy or things at other people's desks. Like a number of my classes did that. But I always remember my mom, like, we would go out and we'd have to buy Valentines because the teacher would basically send home a class list with all the names
Right.
so
You have
that
to
the
buy one for
parents
everybody.
could help their kids. Yeah, like do one for everybody because
Right.
otherwise it would just be disastrous. Like you'd only give them to like
Yeah.
your best friend, and then there would be like the one kid in
Oh
class who,
no.
you know,
Oof.
is like bullied or like not the
Yeah.
cool kid or something who would just end
Yeah.
up with like nothing. So it was like it was like politically
Mhm.
charged, you know?
Mhm.
But
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, I'm glad that they didn't let like the one
yes.
lonely
Yeah.
kid feel
Yeah.
extra lonely that
Yeah,
day.
that's
Like
right.
that's good.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm
My
Yeah.
sure that
favorite
was
one
yeah.
oh, I was gonna say my
Oh.
favorite one was like I got a Simpsons one time that said, "I choose you." So cute,
Oh
You
yeah,
remember it too.
right?
Like you're like, I
that
loved
is
it so much. I
great.
remember
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
That's
Because there
great.
was an episode where Ralph and gave one to Lisa, I think, and it said, "I
Mm,
choose you," and
mm,
yeah, so
nice.
good
That
times,
just
you know?
reminds me of those little like heart, the what do they call those candies with
Oh, right.
The
the
writing
Yes.
on them or
inscriptions on
whatever.
them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
don't
Mhm.
like those candies. I know some people love them, but like they just taste like chalk to me. And
Yeah,
Mhm.
like I just can't. That's not a
agreed.
candy I can
I
get
Yes,
think they
anymore.
yeah.
went bankrupt
Sorry.
or something.
Oh
Anyways.
Oh,
no.
maybe,
That's
yeah.
kind of really tragic.
How about you,
Sorry,
Um,
Rachel?
everyone.
yeah.
What was your like growing up with Valentine's Day?
You
Mm,
know what?
mhm.
I think I always thought it was kind of cheesy when I was a kid. I was like, I didn't really get it. I was like, and because like romance when I was a kid wasn't really like, I was like, whatever, you gross. So I didn't really, it just seemed gross and cheesy to me. And then I think, well, I remember very distinctly because I'm the oldest in my family. So my siblings were quite a bit younger at this point, and I think I was in high school. We came home and my mom had like just wanted to just kind of like love on us, and she had this like beautiful dinner and all this
Mm.
stuff. And that day I remember not really appreciating it very much, and I remember having a chat with her where she kind of talked about it a little bit more, and I was like, oh, that was like a really an act of love. Like she really loved.
Mm.
And that sort of was when I think it sort of became more important to me. I was like, wow, that's so awesome that my mom
Mm.
Mm.
like chose to do that. But I was like, oh, I'm a lot older when that kind of hit. But so it was more like I appreciated people expressing, like you said, Nicole, like genuine, authentic, like love for
Yeah, right.
the ones that they care about. But I don't think I really thought that much about the romantic side of things, like at all. Like I
Mm.
literally don't even think I thought about it at all until probably even more recently in my life. Like my late 20s is probably when I was like,
Sure.
oh, this is an interesting day that I have different emotions about now than I did
Then
before.
you did. Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh-huh.
But
yeah.
like most of
Uh-huh.
my life, I think I didn't really think too much about it, to be honest.
Yeah, which I
Yeah.
mean leads us
Yeah.
into because you know that there's another acronym for Valentine's Day. I'm not sure if you're aware of, but it's called SAD, um, Singles Appreciation Day.
No,
I
SAD,
singles
didn't know the
awareness.
acronym.
Singles
That's
Awareness. Oh
hilarious.
yeah, Singles Awareness
Singles
Day.
awareness
SAD.
day.
Yes, yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah,
hilarious.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
never
See,
actually realized it was the acronym. I thought you were just being really dramatic around it's just an acronym.
Yeah.
Sad.
SAD. That's
Yeah.
right.
Anyways, sorry.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, this is partially
Yeah.
why we wanted to do the episode, right? Is because I don't know, Valentine's Day comes around and there's, you know, all the diamond commercials on television,
Oh
like
yeah, that's
show her you
right.
care with bling. And
Yeah,
then
that's right.
you see this stuff in the store like as soon as Christmas happens and then it's done
Mm.
and then it's like
Mm-hmm.
Valentine's Day stuff is in the store and then
Right.
yeah, and it's just the, the Hallmark movies and all of that. But really it's not all
No, it's
flowers and chocolate but at the
it's
same
not just
time,
all fluffy.
yeah, but we didn't want to just have an episode of being like, let's crap on Valentine's Day
Yeah,
because it's the
absolutely.
worst and commercialization and blah 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 because really like love is good.
Yes. Hmm.
So celebrating love and relationships is
Yeah.
not all bad, you know?
Right.
Yeah,
And I think
totally.
like, an argument for Valentine's or that, an argument against Valentine's Day that I often hear is, well, like, why is this just one day a year we're supposed to show your love? Like, why you should be loving every day. And it's like, well,
Hmm.
true. But I often think it's the same for prayer. Like we say we're supposed to pray always, but you can't pray always unless you pray sometimes,
Right.
like
Yeah.
intentionally, right? So
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
like a day, maybe we should have more of these days, but like where you're like
Hmm.
reminded to intentionally show love to the people in your life. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
true.
I think
It's
it's good.
true.
I mean, and I always thought of I was always like there is a Saint Valentine story, like
Hmm.
there is
Right.
kind of a tradition to the day, like
Mm,
that we don't talk about, but like not even over theologizing it, but just like, yeah, it's like a cool tradition. I think it can be thought of, sorry, as like a cool tradition that came out of like an intense story,
right.
you know, whether
Yes,
I know
sure.
there's like,
and just to be clear,
totally
yes, today's
accurate or
episode
not.
is not on Saint Valentine the person
Yeah.
and you know anything like that.
Right.
It's just on kind of like the more broadly, I guess, cultural Saint Valentine or
What is
Valentine's
reality
Day kind of
of
thing.
Day?
Yeah.
Valentine's.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think when I was a kid, we did that because I went to Catholic school. Like we learned like the tradition, like the story behind it and how he was marrying people. And I think that actually did make me be like, oh, there's like some substance underneath the chocolate and flowers and stuff. Like there is
Right.
a recognition of like there's what love actually is, you know? Like anyway,
Yeah.
whether that
Yeah.
I know there's like whether it's true or not, or it's like folklore or whatever.
Totally.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
so here's the question for us then. We wanted to basically share kind of some of our own experiences of maybe the not so happy parts of Valentine's Day to put a little bit of a voice to that, especially if there are people this year who might be having a real struggle with Valentine's Day or who it's a struggle for in general. So yeah, so I think when we were thinking about the actual topic of Valentine's Day, the thing that actually came first to mind for me was vocation, actually, because for a number of years I was like discerning my vocation, and it was actually a really painful experience in a lot of ways because I felt kind of called to consecrated life, but then it seemed like the Lord was shutting all of those doors and like no, like he was saying I don't want you, which is not at all what he was saying, or even, and I knew he wasn't saying that, but it was like why aren't these doors opening then? Like if you're calling me to this life, like why does it feel like everything is shutting in front of me? And so then Valentine's Day would roll around every year, and it was like every insecurity or every doubt that I had would be kind of like on display, you know, like right in front of me, like either you know, maybe your vocation is not to consecrated life. And so then there would be like a doubt of like, am I hearing the Lord correctly or no? Or, and so that was like painful. But then also even in times when I wasn't really discerning consecrated life, then it like rolls around and I'm like, I'm single, I'm getting older, like, what's wrong with me? Like that was kind of the thing of like, why does nobody want me? And so that in some ways was like a number of years of just that being the thought, whether it was because of vocation or because of not being in a relationship or something, but like, why does nobody want me? Why does nobody want me? You know, which is really painful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
And there's definitely, I think that's a feeling a lot of people that are single. So like now you're in your vocation, Erin, which is still different. Like, you know, it's still interesting. I mean, I'm kind of curious about like as a consecrated person, like married to Jesus, like how would you celebrate Valentine's Day? You know, because
yeah, like that's actually a good question because last February was my first February as a consecrated person, like being a spouse of Christ, you know, and nothing happened. So like, and I like, that's even the thing too of like, okay, Lord, like you romancing me, like what will you send me? What kind of gifts? So, you know, and it was like, yeah, it was nothing. So in a way, I think it was kind of disappointing in some senses, but there was, for me, there was also kind of a part of it, like I was talking to my spiritual director about it, about the like the realness of a relationship, like even being, you know, a spouse of Christ or whatever, like it's kind of similar to a marriage in the sense that it's not like it's very real, like like our like the love or the relationship or whatever is not just built on these kind of, I don't know, like surface level acts in the same way, but it was kind of comforting to see that there's a greater stability in the relationship there that doesn't need kind of some of these externalities that are not really, like I know the love is there and I know the relationship is there and nothing can change that. So then in some ways it was
feeling.
Yeah, it was kind of like an affirmation of that. So the absence of things made me look at that and realize that there was something much deeper than, you know, just kind of longing for, like, you know, when Saint Therese sends you roses or something.
roses. Yeah.
Like there's something deeper than that, you know?
Yeah, that's beautiful too. That's so beautiful. I remember, Erin, you talking about that, and just like I think in general last year, maybe not specifically about Valentine's Day, but definitely relates, and just being like, okay, like in your first year of this, like sort of marriage, as it were, with the Lord, that it was a little rocky and it was a little empty at times, and realizing like, okay, there's like, that there can be the realness of that, and like a little bit of that emptiness and loneliness in that. But that how beautiful your love is for the Lord, that you're not just in this relationship with the Lord and this consecration for the joy and the kind of consolation, but you're, there's that commitment and love there, that you get to live out in this vocation, similar to what somebody might go through in a marriage, where you go through tricky times, and you're choosing to love, and then you have different seasons, right? So I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah. So it seems like in some of the couples that I've talked to, and, new men or just friends or whatever, it seems like there's a huge amount of them that go through crap, and it either happens before they get engaged and married and they go through all this stuff, and then they have this nice honeymoon time after, or they have a lovely honeymoon time and then they get married, and then they are like wading through crap together. And then I kind of realized when I was talking to somebody about that's kind of what it was like for me. Like the period before of my consecration, there was a lot of honeymoon and consolation and all of these things. And then it was like, I've been kind of wading through crap with the Lord in the first year and a bit of after consecration. But it's also really beautiful because there's a security there. Like I know my vocation will never change. Like it will never change. There's nothing that I can do to change it, or, so it's like, I'm okay to be broken or wounded or like messy or whatever, because, so there's been a real gift in that for sure.
That's really beautiful.
That's cool.
Yeah. What about you, Rachel? What's been some of your other experiences, Valentine's Day
experiences? Yeah, I think so. Like I said, I kind of wasn't really, I don't know if I'm missing that gene or something like that, because I love like romantic movies, and like I love romance. It's not that I don't love romance, but I don't like cheesiness. I don't know what it is, but I was just like, whatever, like flowers, chocolate, like who cares? I didn't really miss, because I've been most Valentine's Days, full disclosure, I've been a single person. Like there's not been a lot of times where I've been in a relationship during Valentine's Day. So so I didn't really miss it. I didn't really think much of it. But then probably about like 5 years ago, because I'm in my early 30s now. So like when I was starting getting into my late 20s, I was like, I think it just in general, I was like, what is happening? Like, because I think I just always assumed that whatever my vocation was, whether it was marriage or religious life or whatever it was, like I was always open and, thinking about it, and the Lord would just it would happen. It would, by the time I was 30, for sure, it was going to happen. Like I didn't even doubt that at all. So as I was approaching 30, I was like, wait, it's not happened yet. And it doesn't feel, and at that time, like I was going through so much other stuff in my professional life and with my health, that like being in a relationship or pursuing that, or pursuing a come and see, was like just not even on the, like not even possible for me at that time. So like, it's not happened, and it doesn't look like it's gonna happen really anytime soon. And then all of these things started to become more like glaring in my life, where I was like, oh, Valentine's Day. And especially when like all of my peers were married with like 3 children, or like my younger siblings, who were quite a bit younger than me, were like in serious relationships that were heading towards marriage. And I was like, oh my goodness, like it's it's happening all around me, but like it's not happening to me. And I think that was very, very like kind of the feeling of like, well, what's wrong with me? But not even because I was like, why won't anyone choose me? It was just kind of like, why is this so easy for everyone? Like it seems like it's just happened for everyone else. And like I don't feel like I did anything different with my life that it wouldn't have happened for me. And so it was like just genuine, like I was just so kind of thrown by that fact. So yeah, I would say Valentine's Day became harder then, but even then it wasn't like just Valentine's Day. It was just like in general what I was going through. And then I think like as the years went on with living with kind of this journey, the rest of the year did get a bit easier, but Valentine's Day is kind of poignant, so then it would become a little bit more difficult than I had in the past. So I would say, I think in general, I'm not super crushed being single on Valentine's Day, but there have been Valentine's Days specifically where I have felt super crushed to kind of put it mildly, maybe we'll say, like,
Right.
but I'm somebody who, who just, I think, like, hides that decently well. So it's not necessarily, and that's the other thing, actually, when you're feeling super crushed and super alone, you don't really, especially in this context, you don't really have a space in which you can talk about that, because you don't want to crap on everybody else's fun. Kind of like the Christmas thing we talked about.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
people are enjoying, and that's a good thing, right? Like, I don't look at people in relationships or in marriage or whatever and resent them. Like, I'm grateful, like, that is a good thing that that's happening. And so I don't want to take away from that with my experience, which is very, very, very different. And so there isn't really a place other than, like, on your own in your room or in your house or whatever to, like, be like,
To like drink your wine and eat your chocolates and like
to just cry, like,
Oh.
there isn't like, there isn't. And like, I think, and I don't know, this is a very girl's perspective. I'm curious about how guys feel about it. And I want to say, like, my experience isn't really, it's not about, like, I'm not super, I love flowers, but I'm not like a pampery kind of person. I'm not actually like super into that. So it's not like, oh my gosh, all these girls are getting pampered. It's just more like a lot of different things for me. But I think it can be different for people, and that's also true.
Totally.
I feel like there's also some confusion there, even in terms of like a Christian perspective, because it's true that like people should be celebrated and stuff, but it's also true that Valentine's Day has been very commercialized, and so it's about like getting gifts, getting flowers, like especially for women, like what is your boyfriend getting you, or what is your, and so there's like there's like something even fundamental in that, like that's actually not love. Is like part of love, yes, is receiving love from another person, but more so it's like giving yourself away in love, like, so so I think that's also part of it's just a complicated experience, it's not just like, oh, you're single and you're sad, or like, oh, this or whatever, but like there's also some of that inner conflict of like what love means,
right? Is it, am I just looking forward to what am I going to get, and I'm sad because I'm not getting anything, or even like just bringing back, Erin, what you were saying before, of that it can be an opportunity for all of the insecurities we've ever had about related to vocation or just who we are as daughters and sons of God, that all of that stuff comes up, all those insecurities, right? And so, I think you're saying, like what you guys are saying too, like everyone's experiences are going to be different and be different every year, maybe too.
Yeah, exactly. And I've experienced that. Like, it is different every year. I don't sort of, and I think maybe some people do like dread Valentine's Day. I don't actually dread it, but like every year in the last 5 years, I would say it's been sort of a different, like, kettle of fish for me, and like what I feel and what's going on in my life. So
right.
What about you, Nicole?
Yeah, like I think, okay, so growing up in a family that was very, like, the Valentine's Day was such a lovely kind of event, and still is. My parents still mail me a card on Valentine's Day.
Cute.
I know, and usually like chocolate, and it's just, I just always feel so loved by them. It's probably, one of my favorite parts of Valentine's Day still, no matter what anything else is going on in my life.
Nice.
Love my parents. But I think that, like, I had many years of being single on Valentine's Day too, and I was trying to remember, okay, what did I do during those times? And I realized I don't have super strong memories of it, because I think that for many of those years I've been a student or busy working, and so I was just like, well, I'm single, and this is just a day,
Thursday,
and I'm gonna do my thing.
Exactly. Thursday.
And so just kind of just ignoring it and being like, I got the nice things from my parents, I feel loved, life is good, and whatever, because I think that's also classic me of like, I don't really, if there's like deeper stuff going on, I'm like, I don't really want to deal with that if I don't have to. So I'm just gonna work on this essay or whatever it is, but I think that the sort of latent expectations came out once I was like kind of in different, like, in relationships that I've been in, and I think I've only been not single on Valentine's Day twice. And so and realizing, like, I remember the first Valentine's Day where I was dating somebody and having these like hopes and expectations for what it would be, and not even realizing that I was putting so much like expectation of this in this, but that I was, and it wasn't what I hoped it would be. Like, it just wasn't. And I remember just feeling just really bummed, just really sad, and oh, this isn't, I thought this is not what I thought it would be, you know. And just like the sadness of that, yeah. And
Yeah.
you know, in a past relationship. And so, and I can remember, and I think that like even in I'm you know, in like a relationship that is good, um I'm just really, you know, thinking about for myself, if there's expectations of sort of what this is what love is, or this is what I expect to get, or this is what I expect this person to do, or whatever it is, like there's always going to be a sense of disappointment, I think, at least for me. And I feel like the what I'm uh like the question, this is kind of, I'm just kind of thinking on the top of my head here a little bit, but like the question that I think I need to ask myself too is like, what can I give? What can I give on Valentine's Day? Not what am I going to get? What's it going to give me? What's it, you know, but how can I love, and who am I called to love?
I love that.
You know,
Yeah.
because I find myself, I just, man, you know, there's this stereotype where women or men too are like, you know, I just thought love was like this, and then this is the type of relationship I needed, but I was so wrong, and now I'm more, you know, but it's so much better, and da da da. And I always remember hearing those stories and thinking like, oh, I'm realistic, I'm not like that. But like I feel like there's been a lot of like
I
the
am like
Lord,
that. Okay.
yeah, purifying of like my Disney princess mindset, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
What you also made me think of, you know, like people in relationships at Valentine's Day that can be hard. Like if you're in a relationship that, like this isn't, you know, I'm just kind of postulating, like if you're in a relationship that you're not happy in, or like you
Right.
want to be in it, but the other person's kind of, you can sense that they're sort of checking
Mm-hmm.
out, and like, you know, those kinds of things. And like, so then Valentine's Day becomes even extra painful because
Totally.
you're like, I'm in a relationship. It should be a happy day where we like, you know, share like some experience of our love for each other, but actually it's just awful. So then there's that
Yeah.
possibility. And then even I was
Sure.
thinking like in marriage, like where
Mm-hmm.
you're exhausted, you're tired, or like I don't know, like whatever the season of marriage is that you're in, that it may not be a day that you can actually honor and enjoy for one reason or another. Or even if, you know, if you've experienced tragedy in your life and you've lost someone that you were in a
Yeah.
relationship with,
Oh
or
my
like so many
gosh.
things that
Yeah.
it could be a really, really hard day for a lot of people for many different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
thinking exactly that. Like I was thinking exactly that, like what it looks like when you're in a relationship that's going through a rocky time, and
Mm-hmm.
like how kind of inauthentic it is just to throw flowers and candy at that. Like, and even like in
Yeah.
my relationship with the Lord, like even thinking about that and thinking about drawing closer to him, there's a part of that that actually freaks me out a lot because he is a crucified Lord. Like, because I know that drawing closer to him, just as much as it's going to contain joy, it's also going to contain purification and pain and like, right? Like it's
yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
And it's the same even in
it's
relationships
the
that,
same. I was going to
right?
say,
Yeah,
yeah.
like growing in a
Yeah.
relationship with another person is going to contain all of those things. But again,
Totally.
it's like this question of like what is love, and not saying that, you
Yeah.
know, flowers and like not saying that doing something that you know your spouse loves, like if they love a particular thing and you want to give them that thing or do that thing for that, like that's obviously not bad,
Right. Right. Right.
but it's like you
Yeah.
can't, the actions on the outside, if they're not supported by an internal stance of the heart that
Yeah.
is aligned with those actions, is like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's really, that could be really
That's even more
painful.
painful.
Yeah.
Totally, totally, Erin. You know what? I'm making me think of there's a beautiful book by Sheldon, I think Sheldon Van Auken is the name. It was a friend of C.S. Lewis, and he writes the story of how he met his wife and they got married and their story and sort of tragedy in there. And there's this line in it he often talks about, it's just like the highs and the lows, and you know, speaking about like this glorious beauty in the relationship, and then sometimes the tremendously painful thing, and that when you love, you get to experience both, like you're saying, Erin, you know, in like relationship with Christ, like there's the crucifixion and there's the resurrection, and it's
Mm-hmm.
both, you know. And I think that, you know, any real relationship is going to have these major highs and major lows, and depending on where you're at on the Valentine's Day, it can be somewhere in the middle or wherever, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Could be a time of consolation or
I
desolation.
think the other, yeah, or both in a way, like, like you have the consolation of knowing your vocation, for example, Aaron, but then you can still have the kind of experience, that one experience, like, because you did have that, you were talking about how like it's really awesome to know like this, I'm in it, like it's done in a way, like we're in this. But then there is the desolation of like disappointed expectations or whatever it might be that can happen. But I was also thinking about that we really have gotten to the substance then, like the idea that Valentine's Day, like it is cool to have a day where you reflect on love and like who you love and how you love them. And if we can do that in a really deep way, then actually it could be such a fantastic like part of our, the year, like such a fantastic sort of season or day. Because I do think, I mean, even the church in her wisdom, like we have liturgical seasons, we have times and celebrations, and designating time for something like you said, Nicole, is very impactful and powerful. And so it can be a very, very real and like not real in like a cultured kind of perfect artifice way, but real in like, yeah, let's get to the nitty gritty of something. Yeah, of loving someone. And maybe think of the 5 love languages, like, like, that idea. And I was like, I feel like that's a small example of how people try in relationships of various kinds to like love in the nitty gritty, like, which is kind of cool.
Well, even on that note, it just made me think of this. I know a couple who, well, so they're not together anymore, but I guess that's okay. Wait, I'm going to restart the story and edit it because it was pulled up really terribly. Okay. So it makes me think of, I know somebody who was in a relationship and she, her boyfriend broke up with her, I think the day before Valentine's Day or on Valentine's Day or something like that. And I don't know all the circumstances around the breakup, but now they're both happily married to other people. And I thought, you know what? I wonder if a part of it is this, like the guy, maybe he just was like doing a little bit of soul searching and realizing like he couldn't, like he didn't love her or whatever it was. Like there was a bit, if you really look at the love and realizing like, oh, this is not where I'm supposed to be. And so there's a bit of, I think there's some integrity to kind of say, you know what, before we go through the motions of this, like this is obviously, in the context of a dating relationship, like to not be willing to lie in love and rather like let somebody go. And even though I'm, probably tremendously painful, but in the end, they're
good
now
for
both
both
happy.
of them.
Good for both of them, right?
Yeah,
So I don't know. It always kind of, that story's always kind of stuck with me of like, oh my gosh, that's like the worst Valentine's Day, but also
yeah.
Also good,
so this is
in a
like
weird way.
this is a good question then. So what makes like what is a good kind of memory that you have about Valentine's Day or something? Like how do you approach it when you're having these conflicting kind of experiences or in your own life? Like what's been helpful?
I mean, there's a couple times, couple things I remember. One is, I think I was in university or something, and I was single, all my friends were single, and so we just decided, okay, we're gonna have a big, Galentine's dinner. And so on Valentine's Day, I think there were like about a dozen of us, and we like dressed up really beautifully and made a beautiful dinner, and we just like had a girls' night, and it was great, and
Nice.
it kind of it was fun, so I think there's like things like that of like of yeah, just like, okay, well, what can I do here? What can I celebrate? What are the loves and the friendships in my life that I can celebrate? And another memory I have of a Valentine's Day where I was single and I was traveling home on Valentine's Day, and like the way my flights worked out, I was basically in the airport all day on Valentine's Day, and that was just by myself, And I remember first just feeling like, well, not only am I single and alone, but I'm single and alone, like in an airport where like no one cares, like I'm not even with family or something.
Yeah.
And so I just decided, I was like, okay, well, Jesus, you're going to take me out to lunch here, or whatever, dinner, whatever it was. So I just found like a nicer restaurant and I ordered a nice food for myself, and I enjoyed it. And I just was like, that's my that was my Valentine's Day. And I actually it was kind of nice.
That's
I didn't
cute.
mind it,
Yeah.
I love that. That's so fun.
Yeah. I think, to be honest, one of the ways that I celebrate Valentine's Day is going and getting all the chocolate 50% off or the next day, like
Oh
that's a legit thing. It's like the same
That
with
is a
kind of
legit
Easter
thing.
or like Christmas stuff afterwards. Like, but that's I think for me, it's been helpful kind of even as I move through like the whole time of not knowing vocation. And then even in, this vocation and things being like different in some ways than I kind of expected in my idyllic scenario mind of, what it would be, is like remembering the times that existed outside the time of Valentine's Day that are representative of what I wish was happening on Valentine's Day, if that makes sense, like, because I know there have been times when the Lord has like romanced me or like these, like we talk about God winks every week, like there's these times all the time, and so that's I think been helpful. And even the like trying to remind myself that like Saint Teresa, the lines from in her breviary, that poem that's like, God attains to all things. She whom God possesses lacks for nothing. Like, like, like it's basically patience. It's basically like a call to patience and to endurance and those kind of things. So it's even like that's helpful for me to remember too, is that my life with God is not just like one instance of anything, but, or even like with a person or with vocation or whatever, but it's like, it's okay to be in a time that's painful and to just know and to trust that there will be other times when it's not as painful and then it goes up and down, and that's okay.
Totally. And I think it gets like the, like Ignatian spirituality, when you're in a time of desolation, you remember the consolation. And I think it's a very similar kind of thing that you're saying too, just remembering that, to remember, oh yeah, no, I'm where I'm supposed to be. This is where God has led me. Right now it's painful, but I'm just like remembering those times of consolation.
The truth. Remembering the truth.
Totally.
I think, for me, I'm just trying to think like, oh man, I think being a single person on Valentine's Day is we've talked about all this episode, but it's such a varied experience. So like different things are helpful to different people. And for me, I think if it's like a year where it's particularly painful, I talk about this all the time too. Like, I just feel like I need to be honest, I kind of like, I'm somebody who wants to be cheerful. So my natural disposition is like, I'm going to watch a murder mystery or something and just like have fun and then distract myself from how awful I feel, which is not bad. Like, I think there's definitely room for that. And we should do that sometimes. But I've also recognized more recently, like, okay, if this hurts, like, I need to maybe sit with that and like look at it and be like, okay, and maybe dialogue with the Lord about the fact that it's painful and why it's painful, especially if you're single and still discerning a vocation. Like, if you sort of like discern, like the Lord's calling you to live in that state for various reasons, then maybe you're fine. But if you're still discerning, I think it helps your discernment process a lot to just be very, very brutally honest with yourself. It's really, I think sometimes it's the hardest thing to do is to be brutally honest with myself, because it's more painful. Like, I can shove the pain away when I'm distracted or not, like lying to myself in a way. But if I'm brutally honest, the pain comes like right up in front of my face, but then I can give it to the Lord, and then I can like, then we get to work a little bit on who I am and like what he wants me to do and what next step he wants me to take or whatever. And the other thing that I thought of was like, just to what you said, Erin, like recognize that, this is a hard day, and maybe, but it is one day. Like, it's okay. Like, and sometimes I think being single, you sort of feel like a jellyfish in like a field or something. You're like, I'm not supposed to, like,
that's an awesome image.
Like, I really want to say like two things that really don't, because you look around and you're like, like, you just feel like you stand out, even though you don't. No one knows you're single, but like, except for the people around you. But you even feel like people feel sorry for you who are like in your family and your relationships and friendships. They're like, oh no, like, it's so sad. Like, you know what I mean? And so you're just like, you also have this experience of like other people and how they see you that day, even though they're not paying attention to you at all, because they're actually like worrying about their Valentine's Day and what they've got going on that day. But I think that experience is real for a lot of single people. And I think it's important just to remember, like, okay, no, it's a day that you can think about differently in your life. And, you're not out of place. You're just in a different place than a lot of people are. And that's okay. And like, you need to sort of like be present to where you actually are.
Totally.
Even just the knowledge that the Lord uses everything, like Romans 8:28. That's like my favorite scripture passage because, God works all things for the good for those who love him and are called according to his purpose. Like God works in all things, so even the hope that in facing pain or like in having something kind of be like put right in front of you, like this is your issue, this is your pain, like even having that put right in front of you, that there's hope in that somehow, that the Lord doesn't bring things to our attention in order to break us. He brings things to our attention in order to heal us. Like,
absolutely.
and to bring us
so
hope,
much.
right?
Yeah.
And
I would say, to sort of emphasize that point, that has been my experience. Like in being honest, the brutal honesty is recommended on my part because it's actually really good. Like it's not something I don't recommend wallowing. That's not what I'm saying, but I recommend just being real with God and yourself about where you're at, and because that'll help you move and move forward.
And sometimes really sharing that with other people, like being brutally honest. And then if you're able to share that brutal honesty with another person, is like there's some accountability in that for keeping yourself from wallowing, because for sure, for me, that's like totally me. Like if I keep it bottled up inside, or I don't have somebody to talk to or something like that, it's way easier to get into a place where I'm just like wallowing, like caught in it. But if I bring it and share it with other people, then it's way easier for them to be like, either knock it off, or usually not that, but usually like validate the pain, encourage me, pray for me,
accompany you in it a little
accompany
bit.
me.
Yeah. That is such, I'm going to take that because I'm not good at that. Sometimes like I don't proactively, like if opportunities come to share, obviously I'm sharing right now, like I can share, but yeah, choosing to be vulnerable with someone like proactively, very difficult.
It is hard. It is,
but
super hard.
It's so good. It's such a good piece of advice.
Yeah. And I think too, like last thought I have is like, I think that, what you guys are saying, and especially Rachel, when you're talking about just being honest with whatever it is you're going through, and then just admitting, okay, like this is what I'm feeling today, and bringing that to the Lord, and, Aaron, maybe like letting someone in on that so that you're not just sort of having a pity party by yourself. And I think that sometimes, and then, once you bring stuff to the Lord, I think that you might have a sense, or you'll know what you need to do next, right? But one of the things that I think about too, and maybe this is for myself, is like thinking about, okay, well, who can I love on this day? Not lament the loss, like that's something that you're missing, like absolutely. But then don't stay there. Like think about who am I called to love? Is it whoever, in my life, family, friends, others, like, and do an action of love for someone else. I think that's also really helpful for getting us out of our own heads sometimes,
And actually, and if there isn't, I'm just anticipating a situation where you're like literally surrounded by, I don't know, maybe you're on a vacation somewhere with all your friends and they're all coupled up and it's just you and them, and you're like, I don't have internet, so I can't talk to my parents. Like, I mean, that's not happening right now because COVID, but
also COVID, a lot of people are alone too, right? So
So if you can't, if there isn't somebody, there's not a human being you can concretely like love on that day, like God, like, you know what I mean? Like, just like literally, I mean, we need so much from him, but obviously just praising him and like telling him that we love him is something that we should do, and I probably don't do nearly enough, so maybe make that a priority that day, to just actually like be like express your gratitude to the Lord for his love and like tell him that you love him,
I think that can be really helpful too, because it's also true that like there might be people who are listening who are just starting in a life of prayer and what that looks like. And so like even having that dialogue with the Lord that we talk about, that might not be where, like if you're listening and that's not where you're at, then
that's fine.
Or if you're in a time of desolation and you're not, like you really are not feeling anything from the Lord, then even just that kind of conscious act of like trying to love other people, like doing something to love another person, is like really beautiful. But then also exactly what you're saying, Rachel, is like even vocalizing like I love you, God, help me to love you more, help me to hear your voice. Like
Mm-hmm.
even just vocalizing that is
Totally.
like something. It's like something, you know?
Totally.
Totally. Yeah, I love
And
that.
just asking the Lord to show God, show me you love me today.
Yeah.
Like just remind me that I'm loved in some way, you know,
Yeah.
and be not afraid to boldly ask that and expect
Yes.
that God, I don't like, you know, there's that scripture that I always am like, oh yeah, that's hopeful. Or the Lord's like, how um I would not, or I don't, I'm paraphrasing terribly here, but the God will not like withhold the Holy Spirit from us if we ask.
Yes.
Like God's like,
Right.
you know.
Yes.
So when we're
Yeah.
asking for Him to show us His love, I don't think He can resist that. I don't know.
No,
What
I
parent
agree.
could? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's true.
Love that.
Man, ladies. Sorry, I have to stop saying that to you. Man, ladies. So let us, on that note, move into our God winks, shall we? And I'm going to turn it over to you first, Rach. What's your God wink?
Yeah, I got a good one. So talking about being single on Valentine's Day, and I have, I have a few single friends also. And one year we were like, we hadn't seen each other. It was like a mixed group of people, guys and girls. We hadn't seen each other in a while. We were like, oh, let's hang out. Like, it was February. We're like, let's go for dinner. And like, what about Thursday? Yeah, Thursday works. Like Thursday's great. Thursday shows up. We go out to dinner, and I realize as I'm driving, oh, it's Valentine's Day. And not one of us realized that we had set a dinner date for, there's three of us, one guy and two of us were girls. And we were like, there's basically like a little, like a 3-person date on Valentine's Day.
That's so
we
funny.
had no idea because we were just so single that it literally was Thursday. We're like, yeah, Thursday works. That's great. And then I was like, wait, this is Valentine's Day.
That's so funny.
But it was it was actually such a God wink for me too, because I didn't feel sad or anything that day. It was Thursday. And then I actually did have like an awesome experience of like just friendship and really great food. We had Korean food in Toronto. It was amazing. And I love food, which is like, so I did feel loved by the Lord a lot in that when I was driving home. I was like, great Valentine's Day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
That is wonderful.
Sweet. How about you, Nicole?
Yeah, well, mine is just one from this week. I just had a lot of stuff on my plate this week, school wise, and then I had an appointment on Friday. Kind of had to go and bus there, and then I came back, and then I finally got to my lab, and sat down and was just kind of tired, and I looked on my my desk, and there was this little note and a few little of those like spa face masks. Now when I say face mask, I think of like a COVID face mask, but
right, yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
spa kind, you know?
Yep.
And like a really lovely hairband. And it was just a note from a colleague of mine who I had lent a textbook, and she was just like thanking me for that, which was totally unexpected and not, like not necessary, but it just, and like a really encouraging note as well. And it was just kind of like, I don't know, it's just what I needed to just brighten my day. And
that's
awesome.
super cute.
So yeah, it was lovely.
That's
lovely.
Awesome.
I love that.
That's awesome. Yeah. Mine is from this last week as well. It's actually from yesterday. So I managed to do something to my arm. So I hurt my rotator cuff or something, like who knows. Anyways, but I managed to do it while I was sleeping. So that's very talented. But the pain was really bad yesterday. So I ended up going to emergency just to see what was going on, because it was excruciating. Anyways, but while I was there waiting to get seen by somebody, I kind of realized while I was sitting there, because like, I'm just going to be totally straight. I think half the people in the emergency room were like on the very quirky side of life. And so that like, I'm sure you're understanding what I'm meaning by saying that, but like the conversations that were happening were just mind-blowing around me. And there was like, it was very clear in that moment how much the call to pray for other people is necessary. And so for me, even in these last few months, vocation wise, of like kind of leaving work and seeing all of those kind of things, it's been this like deepening of the sense of vocation, that who I am in the Lord is like somebody who's called to pray and intercede. Like this is the prime part of my vocation. And so it was like in that little moment of like, I'm praying a rosary, I'm sitting in the emergency room, I am praying for all of the workers who are working here. I'm seeing them in their like full COVID get up, you know, and how hard that must be every day. And then these people who are like very interesting characters, you know, of like all of like, there's just so much brokenness and woundedness and need in there. And I'm like right in the middle of it. And it was like an affirmation of this vocation and who I am in the Lord. And I was like really grateful for that.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, it was
so
a
beautiful.
good God wink for the week, right?
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Good job,
like,
God.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's like, you know, Erin, you're talking about getting injured in your sleep. Do you remember like the Jacob wrestles with the angel, like in the Old Testament, and the angel like
hip out of joint?
Yeah, because like isn't that also in like some sort of sleep state? I don't know.
Maybe you were wrestling with angels yesterday, last night,
and you just don't remember it.
It's funny because it was actually waking up because I was in Toronto for this medical appointment, and the bed was just awful in the place that I was staying in. So, but it could be an angel. I think that's a great interpretation.
I also suggested to Erin when she was messaging us in our little group chat, and I was saying, I think I texted you, and I was like, well, maybe you're just learning to bilocate, but you're like not that good at it yet, and you just like did something, you know, in your sleep. Yeah,
like driver's ed. It's like, you know, your first couple lessons out. It's just
exactly.
It's
just getting the hang of it, you know.
You'll get there. It's okay.
Exactly. Good. That's good.
I love that. I also want to mention we're recording this before Valentine's Day, so it's still January. But today is my parents'. It's funny because it's Valentine's Day episode, but it's my parents' wedding anniversary. 33 years.
That's
Jesus Cure wedding anniversary. I don't know if that's a thing, but I just made it a thing.
Okay, that's very cute. I'm just looking like on the dates now to see because the 14th is a Sunday, so which means that the 12th is the day that we would be praying our Divine Mercy Chaplet on the Friday. So we can, on that Friday, we can be sure to pray for everybody in a special way who is experiencing any kind of pain.
Singles Awareness.
That's right. Yeah. Singles Awareness Day.
Any side effects of SAD.
That's right. Exactly. That's right. Seasonal affective disorder or Singles Appreciation Day.
Both,
Singles Awareness Day. Yeah,
for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Well,
but you know what? On that note, though,
yeah,
I hope everybody who celebrates it, however you celebrate it, you have a very blessed and happy Valentine's Day. Like we don't want to crap on it totally.
Exactly.
You know,
and also we love you guys. Like, thank you so much for listening. It's such like, I don't know, when I see, we look at our little numbers and we realize, we have these people who are joining in our conversation, you know, and listening and interacting with us on social media. Like, it's just, I don't know. I feel very loved by that. So thank you.
Definitely.
Yes,
and
thank you.
I love you.
Yeah.
You guys are wonderful.
Yes, we do.
Okay,
We
sorry.
really do
I'm
love
tired
you.
too. But
we should say that. That's right.
No, it's true.
Valentine's Day episode. We love you guys.
I pray for you every day.
Yeah, we really do. We really do.
For everybody who's listening and everybody who needs to listen. If there's something particular that like, that's also I guess a request. If there's like something in this episode or another episode that you think would be helpful for somebody to hear, then feel free to forward it to them. Cause that's the hope.
That's our hope. Yeah.
Is that the things that come out of our mouths would not be just meaningless crap, but rather something that can bless your life.
Amen.
And if you feel like a jellyfish in a field,
you're
not alone.
That's right. God is there with you. He is a unicorn with a...
I don't know.
We can edit that part out. Yeah.
Okay. God bless you guys.
God bless you.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of In the Thicket. If you like what you hear, give us a rating and hit that subscribe button. We have new episodes every Monday with more stories and honest conversations about life when the going gets rough and the hope and humor amidst it all. We'd love for you to join our community on Instagram and Facebook at In the Thicket Podcast. While you're there, let us know how we can pray for you. God bless and see you next week.